be thinking about being intentional instead of accidental with connection, right? Schedule connection instead of hoping it happens. I know that scheduling, there are personalities that are like, I want it to happen naturally and organically, and then scheduling doesn't feel like it's a natural, real thing. When you're in the space of needing to reset, scheduling is your friend.
Right.
And then it becomes a natural output of your relationship. Right now, in this point, scheduling is very important. Hey, friends, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining us. That's Heather. I'm Michael. We are Imperfectly Married, and you're listening to a podcast that is all about marriage and talk about all things marriage and all the ways that we are imperfectly married together.
Amen.
Amen. We are in our second week of a mini-series on dating. Now, last week was all about dating outside of marriage. So on the way to marriage, we did a little bit of history, which was really kind of cool to learn about how the landscape of dating has really changed. And the whole reason why we started it was because those things that happen in the early parts of dating or in your dating experience can then come over into your marriage. And when you're not aware of that, it could affect how you're relating with your spouse today. Or even if you're in the midst of dating right now, having the knowledge that what you're doing now in dating is going to be brought into your marriage relationship. And so we talked about that, and it was great. It was a great episode. I learned a lot in our research and everything. This week, though, we're going to be going into dating in marriage. Now, I want to clarify that when we say dating in marriage, what we're saying is dating your spouse, not
other people.
No, okay, yeah. We want to be clear. You're not dating other people. You're dating in marriage. Now, for some,
It's a very valid clarification.
It is for
in
real.
Today's
For
world.
realsies. It really is. And for some, wouldn't you say that, would you say that it's more common to have this idea of like, hey, we dated, we courted, now we're married, now we just go on and do our thing? Or do you think it's more like, yes, we do continue dating in marriage? Where do you think the common place falls?
I think a lot of the times people, and we've fallen into this, is that it's like you're kind of like, we live together, we talk all the time, we're busy or we're tired, and it's like you just kind of get super comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's like that comfort is what kind of has your marriage just kind of like it kind of peter out as far as like the spiciness, the intimacy, the anticipation of the next thing. It's like you just kind of start cohabitating together, and that leads to just this complacency in within your marriage.
Do you think that more couples feel like dating ends when they go into marriage, or do you think more couples think, yes, dating should continue? Where do you think that falls?
I mean, I think that if you were to ask anyone, they would definitely say, oh, you never stop dating your spouse. But the reality is that falls off the priority list when you're tired, when you're exhausted, when you're working all the time, and then you throw kids and all of the things that kind of pull you away from doing the things that you anticipated. I can promise you that I don't think that there's anyone that if we were to ask someone, a month after they got married, if we were to say, what do you want to continue dating your spouse? Everyone would say, yes, I do. But it just ends up happening because of life.
Yeah. And even as we've been talking about this, and full disclosure, this is actually the second time that we're doing this episode because
we are watching all the lights and making sure that everything is staying recorded.
And considering how many episodes we've done, we're almost at a year anniversary, which is exciting. The fact that that's the first time that we had a technical issue that required us to redo the episode.
Kind of amazing.
I mean, that is kind of amazing. So I say that because I was thinking about this, where there is this idea, at least in my mind, and I know there's other people like me, that before marriage, it was a work at, intention, go for, and get the one that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you have, I don't want to use words like got you or stuff like that, but we got married. In my mind, it seemed like, okay, now that we've done all that, now we're together and we both said yes. Now we just go and live life, and we do life the way that we, want to do life. But in maturity now, immature then, I see how there was some loss there. There was you probably had expectation like we are. Well, I know you had expectation that we're going to continue. This is going to pursue each other and kind of do this. And then I'm like, well, now we're together. We're gonna let's go do our life together.
Mm-hmm.
And though it immediately doesn't really affect you, but over time it starts to erode your relationship a bit, your level of intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for us, we got ourselves in this rut of, when I think these mud ruts, right? Where when it's wet, the mud, you do that big rut, the big tire space, right? That goes
Mm-hmm.
through. But when it gets hard, now if you're in the rut, it doesn't form to the tire anymore. You have to go up and out of the rut. And I kind of found in our relationship, as I look back on it, that it got to a place to where we were just in the rut. Now it's dry. And to get out of that is a significant change to the way we've been living.
Yeah, what I heard you say is that it's like you were almost kind of like mistaking like the proximity that we had together as like connection, and that we were that you felt connected towards me just because we were in proximity.
Well, that's a great point.
But then
Yes.
But then what happens is you fall into that rhythm and that routine that it's like, oh, we're connecting. But then it's like what you're saying is that it's like that becomes like that rut that is now it's more challenging to get out of it than it is just to kind of like keep going in that. And so it's like you really do have to, put some focused effort into changing those patterns and those habits, and stop looking at proximity as that place of connection. You have to look at proximity as like a bonus or a cherry on top, but it's like really you're building connection when it's focused energy and time spent together. And then the bonus is, we're doing the dishes together. We're cleaning the kitchen together.
That is a great point that you brought up. That proximity doesn't equal connection.
Yeah.
And that very well could be the way I had
can
that.
be on a bus sitting next to people and not feel connected to anyone there.
Yeah, and right, we absolutely, and we do that. You're in a busy place and you could feel lonely. And so that's a great point. So that's why we're talking about this. That's why we are doing this segment about dating and marriage. And so I have a couple of points that I want us to go through.
Okay.
And it's just a few of them. So because we talk about the drift, and you first get married, and so we're going to talk about the drift. We're going to talk about what does dating actually build, right? What does dating actually build? Then we're going to talk about what are the real barriers of actually dating, because those are true and real for people. And then we're going to try to redefine dating. What is kind of redefine how we think of dating in marriage. And so when you think about when you first get married and you've done the initial dating, we got married, you won the prize, and then, as I describe it, you begin to then just start living together. You have responsibilities, you're doing your thing, and that's good that you're doing those things, but it's a slow drift. What do you think contributes to the slow drift?
Because you're talking about just like how it's like you just get so focused in on your own life that it's like
That would be something that would contribute to. I'm talking about, like, what do you think contributes to the slow drift of not dating?
of not dating.
Yeah.
I think it's life. It's proximity. It's, kids.
Mm.
I think that there's so many things that pull you in different directions. You can be overly committed. You can have church commitments. You can be too focused on like other adult friendships that you miss like intimate connection, like specifically with your spouse. I think that there's so many things that pull you and your attention in different directions that we always say this, you have to be intentional if you want to build a great marriage.
I think what's interesting about what you said was there were a lot of good things, of things that are
Most
necessary,
are good.
a lot of things
Yeah.
that are necessary. And we say this in the church setting as coming from faith. You can have a lot of good things that aren't doing good things for you.
Right.
Like, you're doing a lot of good things, or you can do things that are right but not righteously. Like, so there's a lot of things out there that can pull your attention that that are in some respects necessary, but the
Well, and let me give an example of one of those that happened with us early on. We were very active in the church when our kids were really little. And I remember that there were days of where it's like you would be working long hours and then you would go meet with someone after work.
Oh, that's true.
And I started feeling really neglected because I mean, there were weeks of where it would be like 2 or 3 meetings every week that you were meeting with someone. And it was really challenging for me, especially when the kids were little, that it was like, I didn't have a break, but I also wanted to spend time with you. And I grew jealous and I started resenting, your obligations to the church or even just like your passion to want to be with other people, because I took that as you would rather be with other people than be with me. And so it was a big challenge. And I think that one of the drifts happens when one person starts feeling that resentment, because that resentment makes it to be where I don't want to spend time with you because I'm angry or I'm pushing down my hurt and my anger. And that's kind of what's oozing up, is that it's like, I don't want to spend time with you.
And you point out there's an emotional intimacy there that slowly erodes,
Right.
because of because those are great examples. I actually very clearly remember that time in our life where I had mission priority over our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my priorities in the wrong space.
But it was really good, and the things that you were doing were good.
Absolutely, but
it was difficult.
But I mean, I can even go back to that time and think, when I meet Jesus someday, he's not going to applaud me for all of the meetings that I had after work. He's going to say, well, what happened to your wife? What about the relationship with your wife? That's the most important relationship.
Well, I'm good now.
No, I know. But that's the reality.
Yeah.
So there are people in that there are people right now that are listening to this that are in that reality where one of the two has a spark. Now, I keep not finishing my thoughts. There's one person in the relationship that has this spark and they want to go pursue that. Now, it very well may be wonderful and meaningful and everything like that. But there comes a dynamic as well. Like what happened to us is it now becomes, this thing is more important than the relationship that we have together. And think about the other person. Would you ever feel bad to say to me, can you stop meeting with other people?
Well, and that's what was hard, is that I did. I was like, this is like, because I came to you with those things, and it was hard because it's like, there's just times in marriage that it's like you were so passionate about what you were doing, and you were so wanting to build this I don't really know what it was, but it's like you just had a passion and drive to really meet with these people, and it wasn't met with, it was it was a challenging time because it was.
Well, I can tell you right now, if you were to come to me and I had this passionate thing about Jesus and you're like, you need to kind of calm down, it would have been something I could, because I can feel it right now. You're wrong. You're not looking at it right.
Yeah.
And like I
Yeah.
said, in maturity now, I can look back and go, that was misplaced. The passion is right, but you're missing what the priority is. Now, that's us. We're not making a blanket statement that couldn't work for somebody's relationship, because if you have two people that are going the same direction and rowing the same way, that are like, we know this is a season, that this is going to be, then you go do it. What we're trying to point out is there could be circumstances in your life to where one spouse has this passion to do this thing and the other spouse is now becoming a casualty of your passion, and your passion does not supersede your relationship. It can't, unless you're okay with the consequence of the relationship eroding.
Or if you're in agreement in that season that this is what we're putting our time and our effort into, and we're both in agreement. And that is something that it's like, because I just think of like like if someone is like starting up a business and it's like, this is taking a lot of time and energy and effort. It's like, there has to be a season of where it's like, there is time and seasons for going all out. And then there's also times of where it's like you have to like start trying to realign that, because it's hard to go all out on something and then realign back into a normal, healthy balance. And that's where it's like talking and having communication is so important, because there needs to be that season. But the reason that I bring it up, even in the whole ministry situation, was because that I'm hoping will give someone that's listening hope that it's like, we went through some challenging times. I haven't been a perfect angel. You haven't been a perfect angel. And we've struggled throughout the years to find those balances, to put our relationship as priority. And it's like, we did come out of that, better for it. And we've learned a lot through those types of seasons. Now, I can tell you today, through maturity, neither one of us would ever allow that to erode in our marriage.
It's true. Absolutely.
Because of communication, because we've really learned the art and the power in communication and in using our words, using our words to communicate and not harm, but really share out of a place of love. And really, that was built on dating, and it was built on having this time that was focused on just you and I, not other people, not kids, not whatever.
And again, this is where these are components of the slow drift of where it wasn't right when I had my first meeting, or right when someone is doing thing that is not necessarily bringing yourself together with your spouse. It's not that it starts there. It's a slow drift going in another direction that you really don't notice until time goes by and you look back and you go, my gosh, we're so far apart right now. Right. And some of the things that are lost is, one, you have the emotional connection that's lost. You have a loss of fun. All of a sudden now things aren't as fun. It's more serious. We've had that a lot in our relationship where it's always serious. We're always having these heavy conversations, and which is a drainer for you. And then you get to this place to where even physical connection becomes a routine, as opposed to something that's more spontaneous, or something that's more, you're drawn together. And so that's the point in identifying the slow drift is, just because you start the process or you start the journey going a little bit off doesn't mean you're going to feel it right away. You have to be aware that it happens slowly. And so we are encouraging to communicate, talk to each other. If there are seasons of your life where you need to make changes and there's gaps, then absolutely do that. But you have to be aware that it happens slowly. So don't think that just because things feel fine right now, that the drift isn't happening.
And if you need to schedule a date when you know that your life is kind of going to settle down a little bit. So if you're in one of those crazy hectic seasons and you know that dating is a priority and that you're maybe in that slow drift season, say, okay, we're going to do a date in like next month or in 6 weeks or in 5 weeks. We're going here and have it schedule it to be a little bit longer than you would normally do because it has been such a long time, or schedule it overnight. Like basically don't allow that rut to harden to where it's harder to get out.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. So going in, okay, so now you're dating. So now let's talk about, what does dating actually build? Why is it important? We've talked about what can happen. You can drift, you can get, but why is dating important? Why would you say, give me your top two, let's say, of why you think dating is important?
I think it creates emotional intimacy. So it's like, this is where you're able to find out the things that, you know, the other person might be struggling with, or, you know, you get to have the conversations that are deeper than just, how was your day? How was your week? How's work going? How did that meeting go? You know, those types of things that it's like are very, you know, just, it's more about the actions throughout the week more than the deeper emotional aspects of like, hey, like if you won, you know, the lottery, what would you do with it? those sort of like kind of dreamy things that you don't normally like ask like on the everyday. And so it's kind of going back to that love map conversation that we had a couple weeks ago with our guest Summer and Assad. And they were talking about, you know, creating that map. And it's like the journey that you go on to find out, you know, is there a new river or a road or a lake? You know, like, where are those things in your life? Like, what do you struggle with? What are your favorite things about life? You know, what really makes you tick? Like what makes you want to have sex? What makes you like angry at me? Have I done anything lately that's upset you? Like, what are your dreams and aspirations? You know, all of those things, because it constantly changes and we're constantly evolving. So it's not the answer that I'm going to say today isn't the same answer that I said a year ago, because I'm a different person and I'm always changing, and I might be a little bit more complex than other women.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And one thing that we always say is stay curious. Stay curious. Maintain that.
Yes.
You brought up the love maps. John Gottman, his book, his research facility, talks about how strong friendship predicts long-term satisfaction. So, and friendship is built in continually having intentional time together, staying curious, and building that love map. And also,
and knowing things about each other.
Yep.
Like,
it's a constant change.
Not just the, oh, how was that meeting, or like the things that we do, but the things that drive us, that motivate us, like
that we are.
Who are we? It's like, I love you for who you are, not the things that you do. And it's like every relationship that is deep and meaningful should have that foundation.
Yeah, and I think when you think of personalities, and it's always been difficult for me to talk about the who I am pieces as opposed to what I do pieces, because the what I do pieces are easy for me to talk about.
Right. And most of the time it is.
Yeah, and the who I am takes more effort for me to even figure that out myself and then put words to it.
Right.
And so that's different for each relationship, each individual. And so, but that is a good advice to bring that, because that's the intentional, that's the dating, that's the map is always evolving and growing and creating, and you need to constantly learn that. And John Gottman also says that dating keeps you learning each other. That's one of the biggest things. And Sue Johnson, she was a a well-known psychologist. She actually developed the EFT approach to couple and family psychotherapy. It's the emotional focused therapy. It's a lot about the attachment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And her research concluded that consistent pursuit builds security, and security fuels connection and attraction.
I would agree with that. Yes.
And so there's this kind of roadmap of this is what dating is doing. This is why you say dating. And when we say dating, we'll say this again. When we say dating, all we're talking about is intentional time together.
Mm-hmm.
Dating doesn't require a location. Dating doesn't require a dollar amount. Dating doesn't require a product. Dating only requires intentional time. So it can happen anywhere at any time. And I know in this culture, dating is often looked at as we're going to go, we're going to leave, we're going to do a thing, and it's going to be special. And that is great. And if that is a date because it's intentional time. But what we're saying is when you hear us say, and I'll even say this, in your vocabulary, when you start talking about dating, have it mean simply intentional time with you and your spouse. That's a date.
Yeah, taking those mini moments to, just connect.
Yes.
Because it's all about connection. And that is the ultimate goal of dating. Really, you could probably never go on another date if you were carving out mini moments every single day to intentionally connect with your spouse.
An absolutely great point. And interesting, those intentional times, when you think about it, this has happened to us before. It resets tone and aligns hearts.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we've had many times, and it's mostly me how I interpret something, or we even had this conversation over the weekend of how when you take your headphones out, the way you say, did you say something or something like that?
I'm a B when I have my headphones in and you ask me a question and I'm like, wait, what? Like, are you talking to me? And I don't know how to say it without being a B.
So what's interesting is, so when I hear it, I'm getting, because this is on me. It shouldn't bother me, but it does. I take offense to it. I feel like I'm not important enough.
But I'm a B.
Well, I'm just saying. In my mind, it's just, I'm not important enough to hear what I'm saying and all these other. So all this goes through my head, and so now I sit with that. You put your earphones back in. I put my earphones in. That's silent. And so now what I'm doing is I have my own thing happening. But when we start to intentionally talk about something, it resettles because then I get a new temperature. And now you're kind of aligning with where you're at. The whole silence, isolation is one of the worst things that can happen in a relationship because it's a slippery slope down into the Darksville, down into places that have narratives that aren't true. And when you spend intentional time, even a 5-minute conversation of intentional time wherever of you and your spouse talking about things that are meaningful, can then align your heartbeats together, can get you reset that quick can get you reset. And that is one of the primary important pillars of dating and the result of it.
When there's time that kind of creeps in, it can cause this like tension and this kind of almost like false narrative to kind of come in.
100%.
And it can actually make you not want to date because you're afraid of the awkwardness that's going to happen when you're on the date also.
That's a great point.
That's just, again, it's part of that drift. It's part of that rut. And it's like the benefits of the dating is coming in and resetting the temperature. We've had seasons of our life of where we felt tension with someone or perceived tension. And my response is, oh, we just need to go out and like go on a double date with them, or we need to have a conversation with them so that they can regain a heart for us.
Absolutely.
Because
Yep.
that's always what it
So
is
important.
that you create this narrative in your head and you're not reminded of who the person actually is at the core of who they are and why you love them in the first place. So it's just reset your heart.
We are great storytellers in our minds. Isn't that interesting?
Oh,
We can create a tale and weave a. I mean, I am a fantastic storyteller in my mind.
this is why the Lord always tells us in his word to renew your mind
Yep.
every day, and that your mercies are new every
Every
morning.
There's a reason
So
for that.
because it's like we need that hard reset. It's like there's a reason that we need to reboot our computers because
100%.
they get dumb sometimes.
They really do.
And we need to reset our own minds and our own brains. And that's where it's like, go regain a heart for your spouse. Go regain a heart for that difficult relationship. Go regain a heart by emotionally connecting to challenge.
Okay. So it is okay. We've established the slow drift. We've established, reasons why, what contributes to the drift. We've talked about, the benefits of dating, why it's important. What I want to talk about now is, if it is so important, why don't we do it? We talked about kind of maybe some of the reasons, but what are some real life, almost justifiable reasons why dating is so difficult in marriage?
You can't afford it.
Okay. Yeah.
Can't get a babysitter.
Because I know people that needs to be validated. Like there is reasons why. It's not that you're just not doing it because you don't have the discipline or you don't think it's important. There are real things that make it difficult, and I want to address that.
But I would challenge that it's like there may be some people out there that have grown so complacent in their marriage they don't think it's important.
And I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is about real, like, because I want to validate life gets hard, and I don't. And you're not weak. You're not like, there's exhaustion. I mean, there's exhaustion in marriage, in life. You have relationships, you have marriages, you have work, and then you got to take care of 3 kids under 2. Like, you know what I mean? It's like all of that's happening and you're just trying to survive. So simply exhaustion is a real barrier to that. And you can understand that. Then you have, like we were talking about earlier, like unresolved resentment. Like there's resentment. I don't want to, you spend more time with other people than you do me. I don't want to do that. I mean, even what you said is a real thing. You're in this rut. You're in this practice of just not doing it. And that is a real barrier because you now have to make that transition. And maybe you're the only one that wants to make the transition. Like that's tough too.
Yeah. Like we've taken up riding dirt bikes in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun for us. But, talking about like kind of like the rut analogy, it's really challenging when we're coming up on a hill or on a turn.
Yep.
And the great thing is that we have helmets that we can talk to each other. So you're usually in front of me and you tell me which lane to go in, because usually like there's like big ruts from trucks that go through the desert, and it has usually a right rut and a left rut, and you're picking a lane.
Yep.
And if you choose the wrong rut, it's really challenging. But where this analogy is so great is that you've gone ahead of me and you're cueing me. So I'm usually behind you and you're saying, ooh, big rock in right, go left. And then I'm able to course correct. But the reason that it works so well is because we're communicating.
There it is again.
And like, honestly, it helps me to avoid a big like rock that could cause me to fall, because sometimes the ruts are really challenging to navigate and it can pull you in different directions, whether or not you're paying attention or whether or not you're seated properly on your bike or you're leaning too far forward or backwards. And so it's like there's so many things that are going on when you hit those ruts that it's like in order to work through it, you have to stay connected and communicating with each other all the time. So if I would challenge someone that it's like, if you are in a season of where it's like you're not necessarily communicating, that's your number one like task. Just take 10 minutes and have a conversation, even if it is superficial and
Yeah.
surfacey on, how was your day? How was work? Those types of things,
Mm-hmm.
because your ultimate goal is to build to where you want to start dating again. Dating just like it could be really scary to all of a sudden go from barely talking to all of a sudden, okay, let's go spend a dinner together.
Yeah.
And it's like that could be awkward and that could be scary, but just take those little mini moments and start building towards something. Like we didn't just jump on a dirt bike and all of a sudden just like know how to read the desert and how to read the ruts and how to do all these things. It took time and it took experience and it took falls. It took like, learning every single time that we got on the bike.
I think one of the important parts of what you were talking about is how you receive what I'm saying. So if I'm ahead of you and I'm like rock on the right, stay to the left, and you're like, if you receive it like I like,
don't tell me what to do.
yeah, no, well, no, not only, but like you're telling me I don't know how to do that. Like you're telling me I can't. What do you? It's all. There is a dynamic there too that receiving the communication is a big deal. And so when you take that same illustration and you put it into the conversation of maybe, hey, we need a date and I'd like to date, the person that is receiving also needs to be open that your spouse isn't telling you you're wrong. They're just they're saying that there's a need here that we need to maybe work on. I know that I am known for taking things as I'm doing something wrong, even when that's been from day one, that having to receive information and not look for all of the ways that you're telling me I'm not doing something right when you're not saying it at all, but I'm trying to find it. And so what makes it work for us in those motorcycle situations is I'm not telling you, I'm giving you this is probably the best way. Do what you want. Because it's not like I turn around like you took right. I told you to go left. I don't know any different. I'm just trying to help. And
Right.
so that is one of the things that I would encourage our listeners is on both sides of the conversation. The one bringing it up, be compassionate and be loving. The one receiving is be curious and be open to those things because it is very much important.
Marriage is about living open-handed, because the second you start to clasp your fists and getting stuck in your way, your like motives, like I'm this or I want that, this becomes really challenging when a marriage is all about two becoming one and unity and working together.
Yeah.
It's like you have to live open-handed. You have to be able to give and take from each other and receive. Like you've challenged me on a lot of difficult things that have come my direction, that it's like, you're like, babe, you're not seeing that clearly.
Yeah.
And it challenges me, and I have to work on, making sure that it's like, I don't grow defensive, but that I actually hear you and that I can receive the words that you're saying. Like there's still a defensiveness that rises up,
Natural.
but
Yeah.
does that defensiveness shut me down from you, or does it have me stay open and curious again on those types of things. We have to be working together, and I want you to be the best version of yourself. And I know you want the same for me.
Yeah.
So staying connected and sharpening each other. Like we didn't get to 27 years, or is it 27 years now?
It is 27.
We didn't get to 27 years by just kind of allowing ourselves to sit in our own junk and fester and not grow and mature.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Awesome. So we've kind of redefined dating already. I'm going to kind of run through this segment because we've kind of talked about it a little bit. Dating is intentional, right? It's intentional, distraction-free connection. That's what we're talking about. Should be fun. We have some
lighthearted.
Yep, emotional check-in. There's future and vision. There could be spiritual connection, fun and play. Those are just simple types of what dating, kind of redefining kind of what dating means. Now I want to get to the point of just the reset. Maybe you're hearing this, maybe maybe you feel that, okay, how we date or we don't date, how should I be looking at this? I just want to give 4 quick things to consider while reevaluating. Because remember, when you're going from a no-date situation or a 2 dates a year situation to wanting to do this more often, it is first a mindset shift before it is actually a action shift, because you need to appreciate why it's important. And so these are the things that just want to encourage our listeners in. Be thinking about being intentional instead of accidental with connection, right? Schedule connection instead of hoping it happens. I know that scheduling, there are personalities that are like, I want it to happen naturally and organically, and then scheduling doesn't feel like it's a natural, real thing. When you're in the space of needing to reset, scheduling is your friend.
Right.
And then it becomes a natural output of your relationship. Right now, in this point, scheduling is very important. Changing the mindset to protecting time together like it matters. Because it does. It does matter. And so protecting that, like you really taking time, like, no, this is our time. I know for us.
Don't be late coming home from work.
Yeah, like this is our time. Like it's that important. And then start small and then build consistency. That's one of the most important for the reset, because it's not about frequency at first. It's always about the mindset, how we think about intentional time together, shifting from we're fine to we're pursuing. Like that's a completely different mindset. So start small.
Yep.
Adjust to your season. This isn't, don't just gloss by that. Adjust to your season. Our season of life with adult children and we work remotely looks a whole lot different. Looks a whole lot different than someone who has one spouse that is working, one spouse that's at home with 3 kids, both spouses that are working, kids have a nanny. There's so many different seasons, and it grows over time with jobs, with location where you live, with kids, it all changes. And so make sure to set expectation based on the season of life that you're in, and then stay consistent, and then protect the rhythm.
I love it.
Really, really protect that.
I love it.
Right?
It's good.
I mean, that is good. So, at the end of it, we could just say date your spouse. And that is true and absolutely true. We want to encourage you to take action. Take action. One small thing. Now, if you've listened to us long enough or known us for any length of time, you know that we're not big on giving you, like, you need to have one date every da-da-da, because we don't know your season. You're not like us. We're not like you. But the important part is to start. And you start by having the conversation, being open, being honest, having compassion, doing it with love, and start to explore what it looks like for dating in your context and what that looks like because of its importance.
There's no reason not to take hold of all the resources that are available. Ask chat. If you're stuck and you're like, I don't know what to do on a date night, ask chat. Like, give me like the top 10 like best things to do in whatever city you live in. Like, those resources are available to us now.
So true.
Go onto Pinterest and look up like fun conversation starters or cheap date nights or date nights under $10. There's, again, so many great resources that it's like there is no reason not to date, even if it's in your backyard, even if it's after the kids are in bed, or it's like we don't have a bunch of money. It's like there's so many dates that it's like you can do that are cheap, that are free, that all the roadblocks and things that would hinder you from doing it can be removed by using the resources available to us. We even have, our date night challenges that when we first started the podcast, we were doing that on every other week.
Yep.
So there's those resources. There are an abundance of resources. So there's no reason not to date.
Don't get overwhelmed. You don't need to be overwhelmed.
Are you overwhelmed right now?
Well, no. I mean, you gave it a lot of resources. Feels like our date night should be amazing, but
It should be.
No, it should be. But what we're saying is, don't be overwhelmed. Start where you can start.
Start small.
Start small. So remember, commitment keeps you married. Pursuit keeps you connected.
I love it.
That's what we're starting with. And so we encourage all of you, date your spouse right now. You can go home, you can have a 5-minute conversation, and you've dated your spouse. That's amazing. We appreciate you. Don't forget to go to our website, imperfectlymarried.com. We have a lot of resources there. We want your marriage to win, and we are excited to hear about all of the dates.
Yeah. Tag us in your dates.
That's right. We'd love to know your dates. We'll see you next time.